Hey folks, welcome back to another edition of My Car Guru, your guide to a great car deal, whether you're buying it online or on the lot. Today, though, we're going to focus on buying vehicles or shopping for vehicles, or both, online. It is a dangerous thing to do for one reason. It's simple. Humans are involved, and a lot of them are not honest humans. And car dealers in general are, for the most part, honest folks. It's just that a lot of the people that work for them aren't. I know some really good guys that own car dealerships. They are wonderful Christian men, and they've got hoodlums working for them because I've had to deal with some of them. And I tell them, I say, listen, this guy, I don't recommend you continue with him. But in many cases, they make them a lot of money, and they do it illegitimately. So what I'm going to do is guide you through a internet buying process, and hopefully you will pick up a few tips that will keep you safe, keep your loved ones safe. Here's the problem, folks. People think that if you buy something online, it's clean, it's pure, it's great. Those are the ones that haven't been burned. And there's plenty of people who have been. It's just that the word doesn't always get out. Maybe they give a dealer a bad Google rating or something like that, but how often do you look at Google ratings? You may say, well, I always look at Google ratings. Well, I never do. Well, I might if I'm trying to buy some tennis shoes or something like that, but certainly it's just not something that I do, and maybe would I recommend it? Well, what I've said many times is that don't look at the good ratings. Sort by the fewest number of stars. Find what the bad ratings are. Because when you read those, that's who the dealership probably really is. That probably describes a lot of the transactions. Not all of them. You'll have some people even come into my dealership maybe and say, it was a wonderful experience. Most of them do, but there's some of them that will say, I couldn't get anybody to wait on me, or I beat their price someplace else. You're going to have those. I don't know if it's true. You should only say something if it's good, but I really do believe if you really get the shaft at a business, the best thing to do is call the people who own the business and tell them first, give them a chance to make it right. And if they don't make it right, and if they're jerks as well, then okay. Blast them. Use both guns. They deserve it. Okay, let's talk about online. So there is no doubt that shopping for a used car online can save you time. Or it can cost you thousands if you do it wrong. People are buying more cars, or at least shopping for more cars online. I was shopping for a car online just a while ago. I got a customer who's wanting a Ford Bronco. And he comes in with a budget. Met him in the showroom yesterday. He comes in with a budget. I'm not spending more than $40,000, tax and all. Well, I knew that if he wants a new Ford Bronco the way he wanted it, a used Ford Bronco the way he wanted it equipped, that was not going to happen. So I tried to let him down easy. And I said, are you flexible any on that price? Because that's going to be very difficult to find. And he said, well, maybe. See what you can find. So I've been looking. I looked yesterday evening. I've looked today. I talked to him on the phone. And we're just not even in the same ballpark. Well, now he's changed his tune. And he's raised his price limit. Now, did he have that price limit all along and he was just trying to get me to find a Bronco at a much lower price? Possibly. I don't know. I don't question his motives. I'm just trying to help him find the right thing for his daughter. And so we have exhausted all possibilities, and I got back in touch with him, and I said, okay, this is what it's going to be. And he said, well, I really didn't want to spend that much, but if that's the way it's got to be, then let me consider it. And that's what I'm doing. So where was I shopping? I was shopping online. See, car dealers do that all the time. You think, well, you're a car dealer. You're at the end of the road. People are shopping your store and shopping another store. No, when people come to me and I don't have what they want, I go online. I found a particular Bronco for this guy that might work on Car Gurus. Now, how do I buy that car? Well, probably not the way you do, but I buy it in a manner that will allow me to make a little bit of money. It's not going to be much, but maybe a little bit. Satisfy my customer, and most importantly, get him something that he can count on. That's a good vehicle that's been taken care of right. So since I'm a Ford dealer and it's a Ford Bronco, I didn't sell it, but it's out there. I can pull the warranty history. I can check and see, was this a good vehicle? Was it in for a lot of repairs while it was under warranty? You think that's important? I certainly do. I mean, sometimes problem vehicles reveal themselves while they're under warranty. So this one still has some remaining factory warranty, so that's good. But as I was looking at the pictures, I just noticed, if you're going to take pictures of a vehicle online, you'd think you would clean the vehicle up a little bit. And this one it looks a little rough on the inside. I was looking at the seat wear. It's got 30,000 miles on it. I said, that's a lot of seat wear for 30,000 miles. People getting in and out. So I don't think this thing has been babied. And I just want to make sure it's been taken care of. I'm going to pull a Carfax. I'm going to pull an auto check. I'm going to make sure that it doesn't have any damage history. I'm going to see how many owners it's had. That's also important. I mean, I don't mind buying a 2-owner vehicle, but I don't want to buy some 3, 4, 5-owner vehicle. Something's wrong there. And if it's come from Michigan or Pennsylvania, no offense to people in Michigan or Pennsylvania, but I don't want that one either because it's been on a lot of salty roads. So these are some of the things that I'm doing. Let's get back to buying online. One advantage is huge selection beyond your local market. I was able to extend my search. I went out 500 miles. I'm not going any further than that. So that's an advantage. You can't do that. Well, I guess you can. If you want to put a lot of miles on a vehicle, you can go to different dealerships and do it. But, that's one of the best things about shopping online is you can let your fingers do the walking. Just like the old Yellow Pages. Remember, you can let your fingers do the shopping. So there's an efficiency of time when shopping online. However, what are the risks? Misrepresented vehicles, hidden fees. I always tell folks, find the disclaimer. I don't care what price you find online, whether it's a new car dealer or a used car dealer. Scroll down to the bottom of the page. And some dealers really hide them very well. But scroll down and find the disclaimer, the fine print. I call it the disclaimer. That's where, everything that they said as far as the price is modified with fees, extra charges. So you think you have a price nailed down. You drive 500 miles to get to that place, or you fly. You get there. Oh, now the game has changed. Well, what's that fee? Well, that's for out-of-towners who don't read the fine print. Well, that's not right. It's that type of situation. And what do you do then? I mean, you've spent all this money, plane tickets, waited in the TSA line for 3 days. You finally get there. You're exhausted. You're excited. You want to buy a car. Then they throw a bunch of add-ons onto you. And you just cave. You just give in. And then you go home and don't tell anybody. I always heard that people would brag about what they paid for their house and lie about what they paid for their car because they don't want people to know it. Oh, I got mine for $10,000 off window sticker. Well, that's interesting. There's $1,500 markup in it. And that's probably not likely. I've heard that so many times. People will lie. Even customers. Okay, I'm going to take my first break before I say anything else that's offensive. Okay, let's get back online and shop for a vehicle. Well, though, before I do that, I want to make sure what I can afford. Most people are payment buyers. You don't shop and buy based on the monthly payment, but you got to prepare yourself. You have to talk to your banker, or you have to go online and go to the different things where you can calculate monthly payments. And, if you're looking for a Ford Bronco and it's going to be $50,000, then how long do you want to finance it? What kind of interest rate can you get? That'll determine what the monthly payment is, but you got to add for sales tax in your state. And then you have to look at your other costs. Call your insurance company. Find out what's going to cost if you buy a Ford Bronco. They should be able to tell you, hit it pretty close. Think about fuel economy. If you're driving a Nissan Sentra now, and you're thinking about a Ford Bronco, you're going to be spending a lot more on gas. Will that fit into your budget? Get all those budgetary things figured out before you go shopping. So now you've done all that, and you understand that if you can finance for 72 months with the down payment that you have, you can afford a $50,000 Ford Bronco. Are there any $50,000 Ford Broncos out there? Maybe you want one that is an Outer Banks with leather and Sasquatch package and all of that. Well, that's $65,000. So you might need to reload. Maybe you need a big bend. Maybe you don't need the Sasquatch package. I know you want it, but you can't afford that. And that's important to know before you start firing off internet inquiries at all kinds of dealerships and thinking, well, this is the most I'm willing to do. Well, it's just not enough. So get that figured out first. You can shop, go to Car Gurus, for example. Let's say you pull up a 2025 Ford Bronco, and it says, you find one that says good deal, and it's $52,000. Well, if you add sales tax to that in your state, then you're going to be over your budget. Can you come up with the additional cash down to cover that? If not, you might have to change the equipment. You can go to Ford.com or Chevy.com, Toyota.com, I guess, and build and price a vehicle online. You have to recognize on a new vehicle that that's going to be MSRP. And then you can go to some of the sites like AutoTrader or Car Gurus or someplace like that and find out what dealers are actually selling those for. And that's the big advantage of doing it online. But that's not the way I like to do it. I like to go to the dealership. I want to drive the car. I'm not intimidated by a salesperson. You might be. Not if you read the My Car Guru guidebook. 32 pages of automotive information that will help you negotiate with any salesperson, regardless whether they work at a ethical dealership or an unethical one. You'll see right through them. Just send me your email address, text it to me, 423-552-2020. I'll send you a copy of the My Car Guru guidebook. And you will be armed, so to speak, with what you need to be able to defeat the crook. Or the salesperson, maybe he's not a crook, his sales managers are crooks. And they know how to maximize gross profit. That's what they're looking for. So I prefer to do that in face-to-face with somebody, but you can do it online. And if you do it online, you're working with something called the BDC, the Business Development Center. They're nice people, but they can't make the final decision on the price or on your trade-in or anything. Everything has to go through the sales tower where the sales managers sit and the used car manager. They're taking all the information from that business development person and translating it into a deal on a particular car that they have in stock. And then that person may go back and forth with you with information, and you can negotiate online. It's just not as effective as being face-to-face. But at least you know what you want at this point. You know what you can afford based on your economic parameters. And then you really have to be careful. Let me put it this way. People are easily fooled by online pricing or even newspaper pricing as it used to be. No dealers use the newspaper anymore. Or you see something on TV, payments as low as $299 a month. I mean, people just fall for that stuff left and right. And that's not reality. I mean, unless you read the fine print, and you can't read it, and you certainly can't understand it on a radio commercial because they're going, it's just ridiculous. So your only defense is really to be in the dealership and have them print you a buyer's order. If you're shopping online and you want a final commitment, do not trust what they say. Trust what they print and send to you. That is, now here's the other critical thing, that is signed by a manager at the dealership. You insist on that. The salesperson said, well, I signed it. I appreciate you signing it. Maybe your autograph will be worth something someday. But I want the sales manager to sign it, if you don't mind. The man who is your boss. Okay, I'll ask him. And then he signs it. He either faxes it to you or does a PDF and sends it to you that way. And you look it over. And just like I say to people when they're buying a car, and just like I say to people when they're buying a car at the dealership, think about it. Tell them you'll let them know tomorrow. That's got to be good enough. What about today? The deal's only good today. Well, if they say that, then you're done with them. That's just an old high-pressure trick. So I'll let you know in the morning. Well, what if the car's sold? Then it's going to be sold. I can't help that. It wasn't meant to be. Can you live with that, Mr. Salesperson? I guess. I'll try. And then you hang up. You've got their information. You've nailed it down. You've got it on paper. You've got a commitment. Again, if they sell the car, fine. And don't send them a deposit because, you can if you're really, really locked in and you haven't seen the car, you haven't driven it, you haven't got the smell test done. You don't know if it's a used car, if it was a smoker's car, and you're highly allergic to cigarette smoke, and there's so many things that can go south. The paint can look really good in the picture, and then when you look it up close, there's all kinds of nicks and dings and scratches, and the tires, one of the left rear tires worn out, and you've already left a deposit, and what if it's non-refundable? I'm never going to leave a deposit if it's non-refundable, and the only way to make sure it's refundable is to get another document signed by the manager saying that this is a fully refundable deposit if you decide that you do not want the vehicle. Sometimes managers and dealerships like deposits. They don't like refundable ones. But what are they going to do? If somebody's saying, well, this car isn't anything like what you all described it. It doesn't even look like it did in the pictures. That's too bad. You sent a deposit and you're not getting it back. If anybody does that, gosh, I don't know what I'd do. I would just try to talk to the general manager of the store. The best way to protect yourself, though, is with documentation. But just don't send them a deposit, especially on a used car. On a new car, you're safer, but make sure it's refundable. Okay. There's one caveat to that, is if it's on a new car, they're not going to hold it for you if you don't leave some type of deposit for very long. Now, I won't. I'll keep a car in stock for maybe 24 hours, maybe 36 if I feel really good and we've already got financing approved and all that, and these people are coming from eastern North Carolina or someplace and they have to drive to get here. I am not going to disappoint them and sell that car out from under them. But they have to understand also that I've got, $50,000, $60,000 invested in this thing, and if they just decide to shop on the way here and find something they like better, I could actually miss a sale, somebody that's standing in my showroom wanting to buy the car. You have to understand that. So don't try to get them to hold a car very long. On used cars, got to get an inspection. If you're not near that dealer, you have to be willing to pay a mechanic $300 to $400 to do a full inspection on that vehicle. And not the mechanic at that dealership, but somebody else, a third party. And sometimes you have to do research to find that. So, if you're trying to buy a car in St. Louis, Missouri, then you find people who do car inspections in St. Louis. And you have them go look at the car and inspect it. I've gotten burned on that a couple times in my youthful years. I bought a Porsche one time. I should have had somebody inspect it because I never would have bought it. And when they showed up at my dealership with that Porsche on the back, as I was walking down the steps, I could see that what that dealership had told me was a lie because I could see the paint. They said it was original paint, and I could see it from 30 feet away that car was a total repaint. And I was sick. And I called the dealership and said, man, you guys really took advantage of me. And said, well, you signed all the paperwork. But that was before they had Google ratings, so I couldn't do anything about it. I only lost $8,000 when I sold the car. I can laugh about it now. Yeah, a visual inspection by an intelligent, experienced third party is very good. Okay, as far as paying for a car, I love it when people do wire transfers to me because I sell a lot of cars through Bring a Trailer, and these people are all over the country, and they trust me because I've sold so many cars on Bring a Trailer. And so I have a really high rating with them. And so they see that the transactions all went well. So they don't mind. Oh, and they know I'm a Ford dealer, new car dealer. I'm sure they Google me. And the only people that come up when you Google Lenny Lawson is me and a serial killer who was executed in New Jersey. And they're pretty sure that that's not me. So they feel pretty good. I'll be back in just 1 minute. All right, I'm back. So if you're buying from a dealership, Google the business, find out, make sure they're real. Call the switchboard operator. Ask to speak to one of the service advisors. If they go through that, that's fine. If it sounds like you're talking to the same person, it's probably a bad sign. It's better to see the car in the person. Like I said, hire a third-party inspection, local mechanic. They need to check the engine, the transmission, the brakes, the tires, the frame. Just because the car doesn't show any damage on a Carfax doesn't mean it hadn't been wrecked, because a lot of those damages are not reported to insurance companies. And then to pay for the car, like I said, wire transfers coming to me are great, but I don't want to send a wire transfer out to a dealership that I don't have any confidence in, especially a used car dealer or an individual, especially an individual, because you just don't know if that car is going to be there when you go to pick it up. So just remember this, a great deal on a bad car is not a great deal. I mean, if you get a super price and it's way lower than everything else that you've been able to find on the internet, there's a reason for that. And it's not because they're just nice folks. It's because they haven't been able to sell that car to anybody else because of some type of damage, some type of historical situation with the car. There's a reason, and you just have to find it. Well, thanks for listening to this edition of My Car Guru. If you need any more tips like this, feel free to message me on my cell phone, 423-552-2020. And if you want to send email, LennyLawson2020@gmail.com. And I'll see you next time on the next My Car Guru.